Welcome in, everyone. RFP Refugees podcast. Ted here, Jon here. John, how you doing, my friend? How's it been hanging?
I'm good. I can't complain. How about you, Ted?
Yeah, I normally at the time I try to be very positive. I was told, with radio, you do radio, you should be extremely positive. You should be happy. You should be excited, because if you're not excited, then, it sounds like boring radio. You shouldn't sound like, I believe one person referred to it, don't sound like your dog just died. Sound like happy and enthused.
Is this a criticism of you specifically, or a general sort of philosophy that you read it?
This is a philosophy for how you do talk radio, and how I was taught to do talk radio when I started out.
DC United fandom sort of destroys the commonly held wisdom about what people are looking for when they're listening to podcasts or video.
My teacher's clearly an idiot and hasn't watched DC United from 2020 to 2025, because oh boy, the hits just kind of keep on coming. How you doing, folks? Hope everybody's having a good day. How was your? I know you had an eventful week. We'll get to talk about that. I hope you had a restful, recovered. You were able to recover from the weekend. You arrived, and you significant other was not too upset that you flew all the way to Nashville to watch your team get pounded 5-2.
Yes,
goal from a former player. I hope the marriage is all good and well after doing that.
Yeah. It was less than 24 hours there. It was like 18 hours in one place, which is always a fun whiplash, but at least it's not too far and too much time. It was good. I had a really good time. We could talk about it more. I don't know how you want to do it. I could just go now. I can do it later. It's up to you.
Yeah. Well, let's we'll get to that. I was asking if I hope you had a restful weekend.
I didn't. I played baseball out in the 98-degree heat and almost died, and I had a fever rash. It was a mistake. How about you? What did you do? Hopefully nothing like that.
No,
you saw the Kickers, right?
I saw the Kickers lose. So they are going through similar struggles about my team's just packing on the pain. And I was out in extreme heat refereeing soccer, which was a decision I made, but at least I get paid for it.
You're back, baby.
Yeah, did some. There was the National Girls Academy that was this weekend, so I got to go out, and I only was able to do a couple games, but got to do it with some really, really talented referees, and that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. Referees from I refereed with one person from Massachusetts and the other from Colorado. And that referee from Colorado was complaining about the humidity, and I said I could say the same about the altitude.
That's right.
So
they lost their natural advantage of being able to run for 1,000,000 miles, being used to playing on the moon.
There's a lack of like the thin air. Like, did your lungs get better? I don't know.
They don't make you handle humidity any better. Clearly,
we're beating around the bush because we got to talk basically everything bad. It's the everything bad show. Everything bad every week.
Everything bad with Ted and Jon.
Yes, basically that's how it feels like with DC United. DC United. Let's we could talk about I don't think we talked about the 0-0 draw to Atlanta. We could talk about the 2-1 loss to the LA Galaxy. We might get into that a little bit. That all seems a little bit small potatoes compared to the U.S. Open Cup quarterfinal. DC United with a chance to make a semifinal, which would, I think, potentially we thought might be the last thing kind of holding on to the Saints job.
And we're right.
Well, we'll get into the reporting from Stephen Goff that might suggest otherwise.
Well, the timing.
Yeah, but DC United 5-2 loss in the Open Cup to Nashville. John, you were there, man. I have to I was watching at home. I feel very dead amongst these regular season games, because it just kind of feels like it doesn't.
Yeah, they run into one another.
Yeah, this game mattered though. This game was a chance at a trophy. I think there was some debates on whether it be like 2013, like a redemption arc. I think it started out great. What was it like in the stadium to be up 2-0 for that minute right before things started to collapse?
It wasn't. I was dancing. I had a whole row to myself. So the traveling crew of 9 guys, and there was 1 or 2 locals with DC United jerseys on. So they came and sat with us. I was in the row above them, and I was just doing the AC/DC walk where you do the kick across when they scored both goals. Yeah, I was feeling myself. What was it like in the stadium? It was at the start very empty. As the game went on, and as Nashville laid the wood to us, they got a lot louder. They have a full wall, basically supporters group that were pretty loud, and they were copying all of our chants, as you'd expect from a newish team. There's nothing new under the sun, and they certainly haven't found anything new. Although they had one song, they have how there's a United States soccer fan thing where like, all right, we need to do Blue Moon. We need to have You'll Never Walk Alone. We have to have like a slow tempoed song that really makes people feel like, whoa, this is crazy, man. So they do that. I don't know what song it was. They do that. Cool for them.
But did you see Soccer Moses? Soccer Moses, he's the.
I did not. Not from. We were on all the other way at the end from them. Up. They put us right next to the DC United players box and owners box, so we get to see all the players hanging out, looking at their phones while the game was going on. Don't blame them too much on that one. But yeah, no, I mean it's a very okay stadium. It's sort of in a weird spot. So I think it's due south of the city. I'm pretty sure. It's hard to tell where you're in the city, like cardinal direction wise. But it's in a residential. There's like a residential area on all sides, and then it's next to a racetrack. So it's just like a sort of weird place in the middle, in the outskirts of Nashville. The stadium itself is pretty standard fare. Not a lot going on there. It's very, it's DC United esque, and like if you're sitting in the stands, you just see the stands. There's not really a lot of visual things to draw your eyes. Like in the corner, there's the Nashville logo crest thing, like in metal in the corner. That's pretty much the only thing to look at. The food was fantastic. The food was good. I had hot chicken.
Ooh,
and it was staple. Could not do that. It was really, really good. Really enjoyed that. And then the architecture, somebody was asking about how it went. Kind of boring, kind of uninspired. I think it's, not a stadium you really got to go check out, other than to say you just being in Nashville. And if you've been in Nashville a couple times, you done it. I recommend, though, that you do go to Santa's Pub, which is across the street, which is where we drank before and after the game. It's a karaoke bar where you can't say the F word, and everything's cash only, and all the beers are $5. It's like, I recommend that. That's a cool thing. We met and drank with one of the Nashville players' dads who was there, who was recovering from injury or long-term injury. Yeah, good experience. Loved getting to know the folks that were there. Most of them are listeners. Hi to all you guys. And definitely going to do this again. I don't know. I think the Open Cup is like the one that makes the most sense. To your point before, like I could not be bothered right now. If you're like, hey, you want to go to? No, I don't. I do not.
The only game, actually, funny enough, I might make it to the friendly that was announced because they're playing Club America. Because they're playing Club America, which is my father-in-law's team and my wife's team as well. So we might make the trip. I don't know. We were kind of discussing it whether we make the trip. Funny enough. Until this team, we'll see what happens with this team in the transfer window. Maybe this team gets a little interesting, where it might be worth it to make the trip. But I want a first round, or like whatever the earliest round that MLS clubs get into US Open Cup. I want an away draw to like Lansing or someplace really weird that I can try to convince everyone to go to. That would be super fun. Or Richmond.
I want to get on a plane with these people.
Okay.
I want to have time away with these people because it's weird. Anyway, yeah, that was good though. The game sucked. The game started great, and then it went just completely downhill. The only two players to acknowledge our existence at any point in the game were Jordan Farr and June as they went to the locker room at halftime. Other than that, not a peep, not a look, not a sound. I mean, at the end, I think there was not much to. I think we all sort of sat in a lump, and then some people started yelling at Ali, so he retreated. But they hurried up and got to the field so they could like say hi to the other players, and then they ran to the bus and then to the hotel, and then
we got the news
to the lobby.
Let's just really. I do want to maybe break this game down a little bit. I mean, obviously started out great, Bronny, with a wonder strike. He's on a little bit of a tear now. He is 2 goals in 2 games.
The annual end of season rip roar that will justify the people saying he's the number 10 to start every game.
Yeah, he certainly can score goals. He certainly can take a shot. He can finish. He can do all those things. You just can't create. And that's sort of the biggest thing if you want to be a number 10 in this league. I mean, the game started out great. I was like, oh my gosh, we might actually pull off an upset here. We're up 2-0. The Benteke's sort of presence in this game, you can just look at when he's out there on the field. He was out there for the first 20 minutes of that game. He draws defenders and he leaves space for other players that can do things like Pirani just did. Just score the goal. Of course, there's an own goal for the second goal, but that's because he's right there and he makes the run. It's a good ball in. I believe that was from David Schnegg. I think, unfortunately, I think the team was maybe feeling themselves a little bit. And then Aaron Herrera makes probably the like dumbest play of the game, unfortunate play, however you want to define it. Hits the ball right off of Bartlett, falls right 2-1, and even then I was kind of like, oh crap, goodness. And it's been like if you could come up with like a microcosm for like what it feels like to be a DC United fan lately, like I feel like this game is like a perfect like encapsulation of that. It's like bright feeling, bright start, everything's great, and then just watching this team just kick themselves in the shins. It's almost a microcosm of Troy Lessane's tenure, which has been just like, bright start. We're all feeling the camp counselor type vibes from him, positivity, everything, and then just watch it just kind of like either forced errors or just stuff that's just like completely out of their control, just completely just screw this team over and cause it to be in the situation it's in. To put it in perspective, we talk about like, other ownerships that are worse. We talk about Montreal. Montreal's at least made the playoffs. Like we have not even come close to sniffing that in since Wayne Rooney left in 2019. It feels like so long ago this team was even a playoff team worth talking about. And so this game kind of felt like that. Yeah, I looked at the first 60, 70 minutes. I think Joao Pedro said and I stand by it. And I think in this game, even in the LA game, he makes probably the only real like progressive positive pass that results in a goal. He continues to be a good to pretty good player, but there's just nothing else around them other than Benteke to really support that. I don't know. Any thoughts, I guess, from the game itself or the players? Anything you...
Bummer that Nahar scored. That felt like that was going to happen. Great goal. He's the best. He's the best, and he's on $280,000, and I'll never stop being mad about that. I think we're surprised to not see Benteke be able to play more of a part in this game and be more impactful. Obviously, what are you going to do? But I don't know if that would have made the difference, certainly. The team just could not handle transition defense again, and also they weren't able to make after the first 45. They were not able to create the chances. They didn't look dangerous, and even obviously the goal that Pirani scored was not from sustained possession. There was a turnover, and he made quick work of it and took a shot that no one was expecting, and it went in. The second goal that was the own goal, that was more styled offense. That was more linking pass together, putting a dangerous ball in. They just couldn't, and this continued in the LA game, and we talk about that next. Just an inability to have dangerous players on the field. It's just it is what it is. Randall Leal looked for 15 minutes against the Galaxy. Against Nashville, he did nothing. But in the Galaxy game, that's another player besides Peglo, the only other player that you could put on the field. Like that guy could do stuff. He'll try things. I don't know. He can't last 90 minutes, obviously, and he can't start, and he's not the long-term solution. But you got to figure more guys like him would be good.
Yeah, it really is a lack of, and when you see Peglo out there, you really notice a difference in DC's just overall movement. He's somebody who's going to check back in. He's going to try to create some sort of odd man opportunities, or really just try to like get maybe a defender to bite, and that might open up space for other players. And that's what we see. The biggest problem right now with DC when he's not out there on the field is there really isn't anyone else that has that ability to, and that's really what you talk about when you talk about with Pirani, and why, despite you might look at his stats and say, well, he's, a pretty good player. Apparently the team, I didn't put this in the rundown. Apparently the team, he might be on his way to Vasco. It seems like Vasco is basically like, well, do you want to extend him DC or do you want to give him to us? Basically is the process. So no one really wants to pay money for this guy. You kind of see why. I mean, if it really go watch him, his movement, he is not able to do the types of things that Peglo can do, that Leal can do, as far as just either making that type of incisive pass, really making that runner. I think he would be an okay, like, second forward, perhaps. Like,
no physicality, too, by the way. Just a strong wind would knock him off the ball.
Yeah, and he's just not going to do that. And it was evident in this game. He gets obviously a great goal. He can shoot a ball. We've seen that. He gets a great goal against the Galaxy, but that almost comes like, if he's the one playing that pass, it's a little different. But he's the one receiving that pass. And it's a good run. He kind of recognizes the space and moves into the space. But overall, this just, the game, the way the team collapsed. I don't put this all on Troy Lesesne, but I kind of after this game was like, I think this could be it. This feels like this is it. Like the team itself just kind of deflated after the mistake. Then they get the PK, and then it really just felt like a matter of time when that happened. And that PK is an unfortunate call. It's. I look back at it, and I think it is the referee makes the call. You can't sit there and say it doesn't go off his arm at some point. Is his arm in a bracing position? Is he making himself unnaturally bigger? It's debatable in my mind. VAR looks at it and they say, well, there isn't anything short of that ball just going directly off his chest and not hitting any part of his arm, and we can't discern any part of his arm that it hit. We're not going to recommend that for a review because, we're going to look at the referee's interpretation. He's making himself unnaturally bigger and it hits his hand. It's an unfortunate PK call, but then the team just kind of like folded at it. It was almost like we're done. It's over. We're going to lose this game 3-2 or 5-2. And they just kind of collapsed down from there. So, yeah, nothing else to really say. Well, anything else you want to drop about this game? Anything?
Nope.
Any feelings from the fan base?
Sam Legg did say hello. So I don't want to make sure he also said that tall man said hello to the traveling support.
That's good.
No, nothing else. I think we all we had optimism, and it went the way the season we had was like a brief moment, a glimpse of like, oh, this is the magical year. It's going to be exactly like last time, but alas, and there are consequences.
Yeah, and there are consequences, and they happened early this morning. Wake up, apparently, Ali Mackay being there. Actually, if you had told me he was there, I would have said, I bet Troy's getting the sack because I don't see any other reason for him.
Well, because he was there before. That's his old club, so he probably had visiting some friends and family in Nashville.
Maybe, possibly, but I think also it was if we lose this game, like this is the moment, this is the opportunity.
He was like this, sitting in his seat for most of the game, just like that, and then he ran for the doors pretty quickly after. Yeah. But the news broke at like midnight, I think, where we were. And then I had already gone to bed, or at least to my room, because I had a 6 a.m. flight, so I had to tap out. But the rest of the group did not tap out; they went down to Broadway, and unconfirmed, but I think they saw him in the bar. And what's his name? Eric Prince? Not Eric Prince. That's the guy from Blackwater. Zach Prince. I saw them, and then they saw the DC United fans, and they got the F out of there. They're like, I don't want to have this conversation. Let's roll. And I don't blame him at all. I would also do the same thing.
Oh, I feel so bad for him. But apparently, yeah. So Troy Lesesne was let go. Apparently that night he met with Ali Mackay. They then got a flight back to DC and were told they were let go. And that's that. The Troy Lesesne era ends. I guess a lot of people. The discussion always is is this Troy Lesesne's fault? Does he deserve the blame? No, full blame? No. This is obviously on Ali Mackay on a certain sense of the players that were chosen. I do think there were some people that were pointing out like no one really improved, you could say, under Troy Lesesne. There was no real development. So yeah, I mean this is what happens in sports. This is what happens in sports.
That's abandon all hope, all ye who enter here in
I don't know, John. Where do you? I mean, this is a move. This is what happens in sports. Your team's not doing well. Things aren't going your way. You're not going to step up and be like, "Never mind, we hired the wrong players. Let's get rid of them all."
You're never going to convince me that a short stinted MLS coach, but mostly USL coach, is a coach that you cannot terminate. That the vision is so important that to the project that you can't replace him. That is the unfortunate truth about being a coach without a long-term track record. You are inherently replaceable. You're more replaceable than a coach with a track record of winning at the highest level. That's just the way that goes. Do I think this was down to him entirely? Certainly not entirely. I think we've been talking about for the weeks and months leading up to this, really, but weeks specifically. And we'll get into when we started talking about this. But we've been asked to break it down. What's the percentage? Whose fault is this? Is it the ownership's fault? Is it Allie's fault? Is it Troy's fault? And Troy would usually get the smallest amount, but Troy is the easiest widget to change. You can't get rid of the whole team. Selling a club has a whole bunch of factors that are nothing to do with the on-field performance. And if you were to fire the GM at this point before this window and didn't change the amount of money being able to be spent, then what's the difference there? There's really no difference to be made. You can have a bump with the same players with a new coach, changing the voice, changing the tactics, changing expectations, giving players a feeling that the house is on fire. So you better get out of the house or you better put the fire out. But just sitting there is not going to help. That's not a good pathway forward. So, I think it was time to go. I think that's a totally acceptable decision from Ali and ownership. I think it will be important to see what the next steps are. And we have some ideas of that, but we don't, we're still kind of waiting. We've got a pretty decent reporting on that. But yeah, I'm not going to lose any sleep over this. Some people are really upset, not because they like Troy, but just because they think it means like, oh, here we go again. And to some extent, here we go again, but not really all the way. I don't really feel that way. How do you feel, Ted?
I guess it's not I agree with you. It's not a here we go again. There is still one person at the top. I have to give Ali Mackay some credit. He immediately stepped in Thursday, took questions from the media. How many times did we see when we saw Hernan Losada fired, when we saw even Ben Olsen let go, promoted up? We did not see, and I think this was a large criticism of why I think people didn't like Dave Casper, was because he never went out there and was like, and took questions from the media. Wasn't a lot of media there. It was Stephen Goff and a couple other people. But, I think to his credit, he went up, he took some questions, he gave his answer. The Washington Post with a pretty timely picture of a like out of focus Ali Mackay and an in focus Jason Levian.
Yeah.
Not sure what
that's where, there's still really good photo editors and layout designers at the Washington Post.
Oh man, I have the feeling that Stephen Goff was like, put this picture in, this is the picture you want to,
maybe so.
You want to convey what's going on here. But that was an interesting choice. I found it really, really interesting. But it's, I think Ali Mackay, you couldn't obviously talk about the new coaching that they're supposedly looking to bring in. There wasn't a whole lot, I guess, going on there. But I think he did come out and at least, said we needed to make a change. Results haven't been what we thought they were. Of course, he's going to be like the players I chose, I think, can still contribute, can still perform. We'll see. This is really, I guess now it's like, this is kind of, you look at a GM, I understand that, being a GM or sporting director of a soccer club is hard. Any level, Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, top level club. There's no easy job being a sporting director. You have to go in, hire coaches, make decisions, hire players. There's no guarantee that a player is going to work out. Everybody, before the unfortunate passing of Jota, everybody's ready to crown, the Liverpool that they're going to be the repeat champions of the Premier League. Florian Wirtz could come in and absolutely bomb. There are plenty of players that come out there. There are plenty of coaching decisions that don't work out the way you think they're going to work out. But, as GM, you have to own this one. And, I think you have to own that, maybe the wrong decision was made. Do I wonder if maybe, I don't know, we've sort of had some, like, we've looked back at sort of the history and everything and who this team actually wanted to hire. They wanted to go out and get the former New York coach whose name I can't remember at this point.
Dom Tarrant.
Yeah, Dominic Tarrant. They wanted to go out and get Dominic Tarrant. He went to Monterrey. But they weren't willing to pay him. Now, according to Stephen Goff and some others, they're looking at Rennie Wheeler as the coach, and they are apparently going to pay him $1.85 to $2 million with some incentives. I believe is the figure I heard. So they're going out and splashing the cash. I don't know. I don't think this is like what necessarily happened, but is this Ali Mackay going to Jason Levian and saying, hey, we can't cheap out on this next coaching hire? I think Troy had a lot of promise. I think he was maybe a guy who could have developed into a good coach. He showed a lot of ability to sort of fight through adversity. To his credit, we saw a little bit of that in 2023 about sort of kind of rallying this team towards the end and nearly making a run to the playoffs. But now we can't cheap out. We got to go and we got to hire the big name coach. This hasn't worked out well. I don't know. That kind of feels like maybe that was part of the play here, because I think what we've seen with the ownership, and this is part of my frustration, is like stuff has to get really, really bad before ownership actually coughs up the money to fix the problem. We talk about the field last year. We talk about a lot of things with the stadium last year. Like people have to there have to be articles written about how bad things are. There has to be actual like visible signs of bad things before the ownership comes in.
Todd on the chat says, which coach or player would want to walk into this mess of an organization? I have to have hope, but this is deja vu is this deja vu all over again? Rene Weiler was at the LA game, by the way, sitting with ownership and saw another failure by DC United. Certainly not going to be the thing that determines the choice there, but just it's tough to figure out all right, it's a matchup. You got to look at what does each person here stand to gain? What is the value of this relationship? DC United fired a coach with very limited experience, not a big track record of victories, not a lot of trophies or any, I believe. Prior to that, Hernan Losada, similarly very short resume, young guy, new ideas, going to revolutionize soccer. Wayne Rooney, a name that had very limited coaching experience, and that you've seen how that's turned out. This is the opposite. So they wanted to say, we're gonna play opposites here. We're gonna go the different way. We're gonna have somebody that's experienced. We're gonna have someone that's won it before. We're gonna have someone that has experience both in building a team, and he's a general manager currently, or a sporting director for Servette in Switzerland, and as a coach, he's older. He's not. I don't know. He's not going to be a player's coach, but he's not. It's not going to be a guy who has gone out and had beers with some of the players on the team before, a la Wayne Rooney. When that term, there was a kind of a weird. I used to be your teammate, now I'm your coach. It's a stepdad situation. So that it's very obvious to see what DC United gains from this, and it's going to cost money. So what would a future coach gain from this? He gets to go back on the touchline. He had previously stepped off the touchline to go into the front office, then got fired from that job, or mutual termination due to a change in priorities at the club. Whatever that means. Typically that means fired, but whatever. That's usually what that means. He's going to get a lot of money, probably more money than he would have made coaching in Switzerland at the tier that he was at. And he gets a new project. I assume, has gotten assurances by ownership, as I'm sure all coaches that come here do. But he wouldn't without it, right? Because he is in a position where he could probably get another job similar to that, but he's not gonna come here necessarily to lose, like to spend no money and lose. There's a project pitched to him in order for him to come over and try this.
Yeah.
So it's obvious what both people get.
Yeah, and you look at this team. I think the prevailing thing was about what the roster's at, how the roster is a bottom tier roster. And I'm like, well, of course they're a bottom tier roster. They have 2 DP slots that do not have active players in them. They literally are limited by what they can do based on what decisions they've made. I've talked about, again, this summer's it. Like this is the summer. You come in, bringing in a coach like that, who, I mean, to his credit, has had success. He's won the Belgian league with Anderlecht and the Belgian Super Cup, so he won the cup double that year. A lot of people at Al Hilal SC, I know I've heard that name, obviously, through the Club World Cup a couple times, hopefully I pronounce it right, won the Egyptian Premier League, won the Egyptian Super Cup. A lot of fans talk very glowingly about him, about how he kind of started building that team into sort of a powerhouse in the Egyptian league and in Africa as well. So this is a guy who has had some measure of success. Now, granted, he has been a part of some teams that are like very much powerhouses in their own league. Anderlecht is always going to be a team that's going to walk in and be a favorite to win the Belgian league. If they don't win the Belgian league, it's apparently not a good day. Got a good thing. Go ahead.
I just did some quick research here on Transfer Market. Guess who Rene Weiler has coached before?
Who's that?
Andy Nahar at Anderlecht. In that season, he was there. Just throwing that out there. Go ahead, continue.
But anyway, so I mean, this is a guy who has had some success. I think you kind of called it in the chat, not exciting hiring. I don't know what would be classified as an exciting hiring. I mean, if they went and got Jurgen Lowe, or they got
I would say that's the one right there. The rumor that just popped up on Built.
Not a real rumor. I don't know if we'll give that much the light today. But for all intents and purposes, Rene Weiler, once you're in DC, once you're in LA, once you're a part of the team, I'm willing to bet that a deal has been agreed to. They are putting the paperwork to go get his work permit. Once that situation clears itself out, then they will announce him as coach. Once he's on the touchline, I think all that's going to happen. Well, that's going to kind of happen at once. So everybody's like, well, what about him? We haven't heard anything. I'm like, we're on the agreed to deal. I just think they're just waiting. I think they want to get a little further along in sort of the visa paperwork.
And that's That's something that should not be brushed aside here. That the expectation is it takes 2 weeks, but that's in the olden days. So to be determined on that for how fast once they make the decision and offer
our incredibly functioning country with a president who definitely knew to step aside when the team who actually won the Club World Cup was holding up the trophy, and also knew that, hey, maybe the players would want the actual trophy instead of a replica. We live in a perfectly functioning and normal ass country right now, John. Perfectly functional.
The FIFA president should be pretty. That he put him up to that. He's like, "Oh, go stand up there, do that." That's absolutely, Mr. President. They would want you there. And then you have Cole Palmer be like, "Are you going to leave? What's going on? Why are you still here? What's happening?"
I genuinely, I don't know. He doesn't want to, he doesn't want to anger Trump right now. I think he's
Cole Palmer didn't seem to care, nor did Reece James. So that's my boys.
I would think they would care. I think they would care, but
I don't think so. Well, other than not coming back, other than getting their visas banned when they come back.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. Anyway. Totally sidetracked. So, again, I think this is all predicated on what this team does in the summer window. What do they bring in to improve this team? I think we've talked about some of the decisions on the roster. Do we like some of the players they've signed? Do we not like some of the players they've signed?
Refer to previous episodes for all of these discussions.
And I think right now this team definitely needs more. There's no question in my mind this team needs more. There has to be a summer signing, and signing a coach like this, even if it's not somebody who's super, like, it's not a huge draw. It is a coach that at least shows, you're serious. There are probably people in Europe who at least might be familiar with him rather than going to play for Troy Lesesne. Though apparently we were going to sign a former Red Bull player and was interested in coming back and playing for Troy Lesesne. And then
Luquinhos, right?
Luquinhos, yep. And then apparently now that is cool. Now that they've decided to fire, I don't know how much Luquinhos was good. I don't think he was super light on fire DP that you would want to miss out on.
Do you think Troy lands on his feet in USL Championship?
Oh yeah, I think he'll come to Richmond, buddy. People aren't really happy with the current status of our coach here in Richmond. This might be a brand new project for you to join.
You will commute. You don't have to sell your house. You can just commute a long distance.
You will get much less money than you would get with DC, if you can believe that.
So I'm seeing here in the chat that they said, "Well, John, you were right," and I wanna spend some time on that. Do we have the text of our early season, our daring predictions that we made in the first episode? Do you have the text on that?
We do.
Let's go through those.
I saved it, so let's go through. So some of mine, I'm still admit I could pan out.
Mm-hmm.
So start with my prediction, John, before we get into yours.
Let's do that. Yes, please.
DC, I said DC will sign a DP number 10 within 2 weeks of the summer window opening. So we are 10 days away from the summer window opening. Supposedly they're looking at some players. We won't talk much about this next prediction. DC United will be no worse than -5 on their expected goals against and actual goals against this year. Nope, I think they might end up being worse. DC will enter decision day controlling their destiny to make the playoffs. Whoops.
Still mathematically kind of possible, I think, if they win every game.
Yeah, if they go out and do it. So we'll see what happens. Crazier things have happened in MLS. My wild prediction was Kim Jung-hong will be a finalist for MLS Young Player of the Year.
Ooh.
Big. That's why it's a wild prediction.
It is a wild prediction.
John has an injury crisis will hit again. This team will have 2 goalkeepers on the bench for a league game to make up numbers. Yes.
That's been in week 2 or 3, I believe.
Yes. Benteke production faces a steep drop-off, finishing the year with 13 goals. What is he at?
How are we looking? Now? Is he like 6 or 7 right now?
I don't know. Let's go look. I should have had this up.
It's all right.
Are you really got your trophy right
I
here.
do.
6 goals so far in 2020.
Looking good. Looking good. What else? What's the other one?
The other one, Gavin Turner will get 300 league minutes due to injuries.
That one's a no. That one's a no.
But hey, we got to give credit to Gavin Turner. 1 goal, 1 assist.
He did.
And his, I think, second appearance for Chattanooga FC. So congrats to him. Are you giving yourself a trophy?
I am. So we got my name on it. Go ahead, continue. What was my wild prediction?
Your wild prediction: Benteke is seeking a move in the summer window due to the storage part and faltering production. Don't think that's happening.
I said that he would get fired, didn't I? Wasn't that one of them?
I don't believe that was one of them.
Oh, we're gonna have to go to the videotape. I'm pretty sure. I'm still gonna give myself this trophy.
You definitely saw that coming as far as
It's just there was always going to have to be a patsy. If things went wrong, there'd have to be somebody that you could throw out the window, and it was always going to be him.
Yeah. Probably not paid very much. So again, you talk about money, it's much harder to move a guy that you have to pay. I'm presuming this is going to be, what do we think on the contract? Going to be 2.5 year contract? Probably. Finish the year. And then
yeah. Well, if he stays that time, it'll be tied for his longest time that he's been with the club. So if he actually plays that his entire contract.
We'll see. It's probably going to be half a year, and then we'll see if it's 2 or 3 years. He probably will only want to do 2 years because he'll be like, maybe he knows enough about MLS rosters and the money that's being spent, and maybe he's been told about some players they want to bring in. Who knows? I don't know if we want to talk anything more about, I guess, LA. Again, not a whole lot to talk. I mean, I don't really get in like the defensive performance. I look at this team, and even in like for most of that Nashville game before things got really bad, like I just look at this defense, I'm like, they're not like excellent, but like they're not terrible. It's just like they literally cannot threaten at the top. The top is the problem, and you fix the top and you're actually threatening, and you start to put teams more on the back foot, you'll pressure your defense less, and that appears to be the big issue with this team. What do we see? Do we want to talk? Oh, we got another player rumor that we should probably discuss. Apparently the team has made an offer to Griffin Yao.
Oh, yeah. How did I forget about that one?
DC doing the big brain move. Rather than develop your own players and sell them for big fees, sell them to European clubs for cheap and then buy them back, a la Chris Durkin.
Well, you have a coupon code for 30% off.
Because you got the sell-on fee for 35%.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading maybe some reputable sources that say probably not likely to happen. I think maybe this was maybe he wouldn't
want to come back here. He would. There'd be no reason unless he's got homesickness or he's got family that wants to come back for his career. There'd be no really reason. I would love it. I think it'd be great. He'd slot in. He'd start week 1 for me. But I'll put that in the fantasy camp. Same with Kevin. If Kevin Paredes got rumored back, I'd be like, yes, let's do it. Let's roll the clock back.
I agree with you. I don't see this happening. I think Belgium is going to look at another team, and then DC will still get some cash from it. So it remains to be seen.
You gotta create the next Griffin Yao. That's what you got to do with that bunny.
Right. And that's all we have for player rumors. So tick, Mr. Mackay. Tick. Clock is ticking, buddy. This team needs something. I'm really hopeful, like in the next week or so, there's going to be some sort of linked to rumor other than Griffin Yao be something else where they could go out and do that. Apparently also, I think the team is looking to like extend his contract too. So I think it's like they don't get the offer now. They'll be like, well, we'll still hold on to him because he's useful and he's productive. So he keeps that up. And he's been hurt for a little bit. Last year, so he didn't have a fully healthy season. All right, let's get to some listener questions. Says Eclipse Wanderer 42. How did we end up here? Did the front office overestimate the talent of the roster, or are they all underperforming?
No, I think not. My answer is this. It was obvious what was happening from the beginning of the year, and we talked about it, and that this was a year of paying off debts and consolidation. But in our minds, we don't want to live with that, so we also gave ourselves hope. Because who wants to go through an entire season where you're just like, this is a wash. Let's just kick it. So I think it was telegraphed. They're never going to communicate that to you directly. That would be suicide and very bad marketing. But I feel like for the most part, like that was kind of conveyed to us. It was not, however, conveyed that all of the players that did well last year were going to have a steep drop off in form, that Benteke was going to get injured. So basically, if everything went normal, if they had a repeat of last year, that would have been what they wanted to have. And then they were going to say, all right, well, next year, this is the year we can make hay.
We're going to be hanging around that 8-9 spot. Summer hits. We're going to get a big
impact player.
Then we're going to shoot up. And then we're going to, bring somebody then in the winter. And then next year is going to be the big year. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you look at some of the players we talked about. We talked about Jared Stroud. We talked about,
Aaron Herrera.
Aaron Herrera. Not having a great year. I would argue he's been okay. Well, that could be a coaching situation. We'll see. We'll see how that changes. I think some of the players, you look at some of the players they also brought in, like Borisy now, Matty Peltola, David Schnegg. David Schnegg, I think, has been pretty good. Matty Peltola and Borisy now show these little flashes where you see exactly why they're brought in. I'll be curious to see, are they looking at, we look at some of these players that might not be happy, particularly Matty Peltola. does bringing in a Rennie Wheeler maybe change his tune about what he wants to do? Maybe he says, well, let me give this another shot. I'm already here. I already have a coaching situation. Maybe being with a more European style coach they'll recognize my talent and use me more effectively. Because it was very clear that Troy Lesesne did not trust Matty Peltola in several situations. He was playing him in the third center back as sort of out of necessity because the team was just giving up goals and he was a talented player and he threw him out there. But I mean, when given the choice between Boris Henao and Matty Peltola, he went and he even had Brendan Sarvania out there. I wonder if I'm Brendan Sarvania. Like Brendan Sarvania was getting minutes for Troy Lesesne. How does that whole midfield play itself out as we get a little
Did you know Servette has a lower market value for their players than DC United does? $22 million market value. DC United listed at $25 million. I was looking if there was any players he would want to poach, and there's only 3 players over $1 million of value. Doesn't mean that would be the determining factor, but there's not there's maybe he brings somebody, but they will not be DPs, I guess I would say.
Let's go next. We have Sabatis. Blue Sky says a DCIU plays after we go to bed. Does it make a sound? I think we're done by the fact that we're not really talking about the LA game because there's really nothing new to really. I
was up for the whole thing. I watched the whole thing.
Yeah, and not much to really discuss. Peglo had a nice pass and a nice goal, and that was really about all we got from that game. Maybe a couple semi-half chances, but not a whole lot. Looking at the remainder schedule, are there games that you think we can win? Sure, Austin. Why not? Traveling team on the West Coast. Maybe, honestly, Charlotte. Maybe Charlotte. Currently, that team is going to be without their star striker who's headed off to Derby County. So that could
Ethiopia.
Yeah.
We'll probably win that. I said we'll win the game against Ethiopia.
Montreal, maybe. Yeah, I could see us pulling a win out of that.
I'd say Montreal and Ethiopia are the only ones.
New England's also not looking great. We always seem to put a game against them.
On the road is a little bit tougher, though.
And we got to end of the year on the road against Atlanta. We'll see what happens. They're tapped out as far as the season goes, but we'll see what happens. Sure. I think here's an over under 3 wins to finish out the year.
Under. I think 2.
I realize that's a stupid way to ask.
3.5.
Yeah, I would say 2.5 wins. 2.5 wins. Going under 2.5 wins.
2 wins. They're gonna beat Montreal, and then in a weird way, they're gonna beat like Philly, or they're gonna beat a team that we should have. Orlando. They're gonna beat Orlando at home, and they're gonna beat Montreal away, and everything else will be a loss or a draw.
Yeah. I just looked. We have Inter Miami August 23rd and then September 20th, and Inter Miami has now basically decided. Oh yeah, let's. We're done with all the distractions. Let's go win.
Time to turn on the boosters.
Time to actually go win this thing. Yeah, they are flying right now, and DC very much is not. Yeah, so I'll say over. I don't know. I think they can pick up 3 more wins. I look at any team coming out east from west. So you look at Austin. I think they could pick up a win in there. Montreal, I think they could pick up a win. And then they're going to pick up one of these fluke wins. Charlotte is really completely just batting down the hatches. Their season has not worked out at all like they thought they would. I could see us maybe getting a surprise win there.
Also, Atlanta on the road, the vibes are going to be very bad in Atlanta at the end of the season when they don't make the playoffs. So maybe, who knows there?
Maybe. Who knows? Maybe that'll be the fight for the 9th spot. Who the heck knows? Who the heck knows? All right. Says Simply B1 says, what single change could make you feel even worse about the season than you already do? Conversely, other than miraculously starting to win, what single change would give you hope about next season? Honestly, what would make me feel worse is if this team left the entire... I'll say honestly, like if this team does not have an announced DP signing within, I would say right now, based on the season looks, within a week of the window opening. So the window opens, and then if they do not have somebody lined up, ready to go, offer on the table, designated player, I will feel really worse. Conversely, I feel like if they get a designated player and that player starts and picks up an assist or a goal in their first start, I'll start to feel better about this team. That's really what it comes down to. Regardless of whether it wins and losses, It really does come down to Ali Mackay can, miss or maybe half hit on like everything he's done so far. He's had some semi good signings. He's had some not so great signings. You hit on your DPs, you're successful in MLS. That is the tried and true formula. And he was gifted a hit. Like, I still call Benteke a hit as a DP, but now he has to go out and do it himself. And he really hasn't had that yet. And he hasn't really signed a true designated player.
All right. I'm going to not think of anything different for what would make me feel better, or what was required as a sign a player, impact player right at the start. What would make me feel better is if any one of June, Jackson Hopkins, Jacob Murrell, or Matty Peltola have a good run towards the end of the season and stay in the roster, stay healthy, and have quality performances every game. Just one. Any one of them. Don't care who. I want one promising player under 24 to assert themselves into being, for sure, a going forward concern and a starter. That's what I want.
Okay. And the worst part would just be any of them getting injured, season-ending injury? No.
Sure. Yeah. I was going to say, like, I would feel worse if this team doesn't have a DP yet, similar to what you were saying. And the only thing that would make me feel better is if one of those players, shook out.
Kama Girls says, walk us through selling the team. What's the rebuild expectation? Academy? Who would want to buy this team? Who would want to buy an MLS team? As far as if I don't think ownership is looking to sell, they've given no indication they're looking to that front. I think there's some terms in the contract they signed with the city that they can't sell the team for a certain time period, I believe. Like, there's something they had, I feel like, in their contract that sort of prevents them from
they would do like what they did in Latin, where they remain a minority stakeholder or something, where they weren't supposed to sell, but they figured out a way to weasel out of it. Like, to your point though, they've not talked about it. I don't see that on the horizon. Who would I want to buy it? A person that doesn't exist, a benevolent billionaire that doesn't care about lighting money on fire, like Mackenzie Bezos or somebody that's just like, yeah, I got all this money and I'm gonna die one day and I don't need it, so let's just spend it on the soccer team.
Yeah. And who would want, like, there's a lot of reasons you would want to buy this team. The value,
it is the line goes up, folks.
Yeah.
Who would want to buy this? You have downside protection in Major League Sports like no other. Like, no matter what else happens, the fact that you have such cost controls, the fact that you don't have relegation, the fact that you can continue to grow the league and continue to reap hundreds of $1 millions in expansion fees says that, like, yeah, man, if I had the money, I'd do it. If I had the money, I'd do it. And then I would be just like Jason and be like, guys, I don't have the money. All I can spend is what I bring in. So I just don't have any extra money. So we're going to need to buy more hot dogs at the game. If you want a DP, you're going to have to figure it out. Mine Bitcoin in the basement. I don't know. We're going to have to figure something out because it's not coming from me.
We got this question from DC7223. I want to drop it. Is Ali on the chopping block? I would say no. I would say he has a 3-year contract. We are in year 2 of that contract. If things don't go well, the team will just not renew that contract and they'll go grab somebody else if next season does not go well.
But similar to Troy, if you did want to fire him, he is cheap, so you could write it off as a business expense if you really wanted to.
And you're bringing a guy in with some front office experience. I don't know. Could be something interesting to watch. And
that's what's taken so long. They're like, all right, in your contract it says $1.1 million. However, if in the event of the next year and a half you take on another job, you won't get paid anymore. You're gonna actually have 2 jobs for the same salary. And he's probably like, no, I don't want to do that.
But yeah, this next question, I think, what are expectations for the rest of the season? Development, trying out new formations, make a push for the playoffs, or do they use the rest of the season as a preseason for next year? I think as long as they are still alive mathematically in the playoffs, you will see them push for the playoffs. If that changes, then yeah, I think you'll see, June will probably get some run out towards the end of the season just to try to see if you can build up his confidence. You might even see him make a start coming now. What are expectations? Expectations are sign a new player, get a big new player in, hope you can catch some fire, catch some lightning in a bottle as Thunder rolls in to...
I saw that. You can see the window over your shoulder. You see a flickering light over and over again.
Hopefully I keep power. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have any expectations for the rest of the season?
I was just thinking about that. Like, no, I don't. Like, I don't like nothing could make it better really, unless they just go on a major league-esque win streak to close out the season. There's not really like players that aren't getting opportunities that you want to have. Gavin Turner's gone, so like who else that you're not who else are you not seeing that you want to see more of? Christian Fletcher blew up his knee. Yeah. Gavin Turner's gone. Like everyone else gets minutes, so it's not like you're going to be auditioning players. You can try out new formations. All right, sure. I mean, I'm sure the new coach would have ideas. I mean, yeah, I guess go try to make it to the playoffs. There's not anything else that you can do. There's no playing the kids. There's no. It's just it's kind of a dead rubber. If they I don't know what the mathematical situation, but even like slightly before then, I just heard the boom of thunder through your microphone. And it made me lose my lightning and thunder. Just lost my mind. I don't know. It's bad news. I'm not excited for the rest of the season. There's nothing they can do to change that, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Zero
I mean,
expectations.
it's unless there's, like you said, something changes. New coaches come in, maybe some players that were unhappy suddenly become happy with the direction and suddenly start to play better. It's there. Sometimes I always say, like, I think some players like just they play poorly because they're not happy and they're not enjoying where they are right now. It's like any job. If you're not happy, you're not going to do well at your job. And some people fight through it. Some people are able to kind of fight through that type of stuff. They're just extremely talented players, but a lot of times players aren't happy. They're gonna do that. So that would be like the change. Suddenly a coach comes in. Maybe there's a coach that really hits it off. You talk about a player like Jared Stroud. Maybe Jared Stroud regains some confidence. That guy's confidence is in like the freaking toilet right now. And I look at him. He's one I look at. I'm like, he's a player that played pretty well, and then suddenly it's just been like he just has zero confidence. Nothing's going right, and you hope maybe a change can do that.
Or Yogi Lowe's going to come in and pick a team that will win us.
That's not happening. It's not happening. We're not talking about that article. All right, folks. I think that's going to do it. We got about an hour show in. Thank you guys so much for listening, for watching this. You guys are why we do this, and I say that all the times, and this time I really mean it because
it's true. It's true. I'm getting a lot more comments like, God, you guys are saints. Like, how do you find the will and the way to keep it? And that's getting, you're right. We are. We're very special to do this.
When we put out that call for questions and people come with questions, people come with comments, people come with emails. Shoot, you know what? We had, and I feel so bad. We had a really long, a really long email. I feel bad. We should pull that up before I forget.
I have it right now. Okay. That's from Carlton. I'm going to just read a clip from it. And this week, I'm in a bit of a confused state with all that's happened. I think the first thing I would like to ask you guys and anyone else for that matter is, do we see a day in the future where we will be looked at other than how we are? The long and short is no, we are not. I feel bad for Troy, and now that he's been sacked, I'm relieved for him. No, he doesn't have to continually try to find some contrived. Now he doesn't have to try to find some contrived answer that's obviously not what needs to be said. Yes, there were some things that he did tactically that I didn't agree with that undoubtedly led to the team being played essentially each week to each game. But I feel bad for Ali. I feel bad for Ali Mackay that this couldn't be what he signed up for. I was primarily listening to the show at some point, and the discussion of selling players and the thought that we would make a run at Paul Pogba with that money, primarily from the sale of Cudi Pietro. Well, ownership group, how did that work out for you? Insert Family Feud buzzer sound here, please. We don't do that. I'm sorry. Do not ask us to do sound effects. It will not happen. Unless you're a Patreon subscriber at a high tier, then we will figure it out. I'm convinced more than ever that we are, as a fan base, are an afterthought. We have Footy's version of Donald Sterling or Frank McCourt. Frank McCourt had a lot more money, and so did Donald Sterling. So no, that is not an analogy. Or the guy from Oakland, San Jose ownership, John Fisher, not him. At this point, I'll take a sovereign wealth fund or an eccentric owner. Anything has got to be better than this. No, it doesn't. I swear if I get another ad about this new lounge or friendly with a club from another country, I'm going to break another device. That I agree with. Yep. But that's pretty much it. So yeah, it can get worse, folks. It can get so much worse. It can get so much worse than this. This is like benign incompetence rather than like actively malevolent ownership. It can get so much worse. This sucks. So know that it sucks. I am not saying that it's good, but it can be so much worse than this.
We're not so far removed from the previous Commanders owner.
Yeah,
to remember,
look up the street.
Just remember how bad it can be and how good it can potentially get if things change. I will say, I take a point of Carlton's email where he's like, this can't be what Mackay signed up for. Mackay made the decisions here. Like it was Makai's decision to sell Ted Pietro. It was Makai's decision to trade Matthias Klick. It was Makai's decision to go with one DP heading
but
into
not to
this
hire
season.
Troy. But not to hire Troy. That is what was the rumor at the time, is he wanted somebody else, and then ownership made him take a compromise on that.
But to add it, I mean, he still made the decision. Okay, that's not your first choice. You still, maybe he was second choice, but you still made that decision and brought him in. And now you have burned. My thing about Makai is I feel like, he came in, we knew last year was going to be we got contracts we can't get out of. We need a hard reset. I think what the biggest thing was, like, this is the hard reset. Now it's like you've burned up all the goodwill. Fans are upset. Everybody's upset. Everybody is tearing him up. And I have nothing else to say to give any hope, because I have not seen anything this year that has given me any hope. Give me a rumor about a good player. Give me a guy I can look at on FBref that's got like in the 90th percentile in created chances or shot creating actions. Maybe I get a little more excited. Even though apparently go look at Pirani stats on FBref and see his
Don't do that.
creating.
Don't do that. I don't think you should do that. I think it's not illustrative of anything. I just want to say, if you want to, I don't want to end this show on a bad note. We'll send it there.
Let's end it there. All right, folks. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you. And sorry, Carlton, I nearly forgot your email. I apologize for that. It won't happen again. Appreciate everybody who writes in, everybody who comes in support. Hopefully I keep power as we do this. Anyway, we'll talk to you guys next week.
Vamos.